C19? Is that right? Okay, thanks for being patient through that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Randy Ruda. I'm the case manager for this project. It is SB 2018-0486C, titled Manchaca, located at 4107 Manchaca Road. Applicant is Urban Design Group. The agent at the time of application was PSW. They've changed their name now to Story Built. This is within the South Manchaca neighborhood plan. The applicant is proposing to redevelop two lot zones, SF6 and P, with 12 single-family condominium units with parking and a pool. Two existing residences would be demolished. Each of the new residential buildings would be 2 stories, approximately 30 feet in height, with a mix of 3 and 4 bedroom units. The site will have a single driveway and accessing Manchaca Road, open space to be provided with a landscaped yard near the entrance and significantly a pool located near the northeast corner of the site. The request is for a variance to the compatibility regulations with regard to intensive recreational uses, specifically a request to reduce the 50-foot compatibility setback for intensive recreational uses, for specifically the pool, to 19 feet from the northerly property line and to 29 feet from the easterly property line, a variance from LDC section 25-1067. I'll end there unless there are any questions, which I'd be happy to take, of course.
All right. We'll get back to you with questions after we close public hearing. I'm sorry?
You got one speaker.
I know, I haven't gotten there. I was just telling him that the question, we're not ready for questions for him.
Okay, I heard you say close the public hearing.
I said we'll get to questions after we close public hearing. I don't have any cards here.
Chair, Commissioner Mr. Ray Collins would like to speak on this item.
Okay. Come on up, sir. You'll have 5 minutes. Is the applicant here? All right. I'm sorry, Mr. Collins. We'll start with the applicant. I don't have any cards. I don't know if you all signed up or not. Did you all sign up?
I signed up.
Okay. All right. Come on up. You'll have 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Great. Thank you.
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jared Corbell, formerly PSW, now Story Built. Happy to be here tonight to go over this single-family development that we have been working on. Just to give everybody, whoops, did I go the wrong way? There we go. Just give everybody a quick idea on site location. We are right off of Manchaca, roughly 3/4 to a mile south of Ben White Boulevard. The site characteristics, 1.9 acres, SF6 NP. I don't need to go through all the quick details, but 55% impervious cover allowed, 40% building coverage, 5% open space required. Current zoning allows for 20 units on the property, and there are 2 existing residences. I'm sure most of you guys that have seen our properties around town, we are an urban infill developer, and we believe in reaching as high a density as possible. And this particular site, as we'll go through in just a minute, did not lend itself to that type of development. And so we are proposing 12 units, all detached, which is yielding 6 units to the acre. It happens to be 35% impervious cover, 20% building coverage, and 9% open space. To give a quick high-level view of the site plan, again, kind of what this site lends itself to from a few reasons is one single access point off of Manchaca, which has to line up with a particular street across Manchaca. There are 2 units to the 2 existing homes on the east property line. There is an existing pool that currently resides in what is now a compatibility setback in its original form, which was SF3. Obviously, this swimming pool would not have been against compatibility regulations as it sits now. And so as we developed this site plan, we found that 12 single-family detached units really felt right. We are working with a lot of existing protected trees that we feel are an amenity to the project. And in an effort to kind of try to utilize a little bit more space on the project, we decided to investigate a swimming pool that would be used by our 12 homeowners. We do have a similar development in Northwest Austin, 12 homes that share one single pool, and it seems to be a really nice amenity for all the families that live there. So based on this location, we spent roughly 6 to 7 months meeting with our adjacent neighbors, part of the Miramonte HOA, Homeowners Association, there to your north and east, and through various discussions, gained their support to build the swimming pool, again, 19 feet off the north property line and 29 feet off of the east property line. And as I kind of explained to the neighborhood, obviously this bit of code as it relates to an intensive use, I feel is probably more depth for a multifamily development. And then this being obviously an SF6 project, it's very compatible with the existing neighborhood. We didn't feel that definition of intensive really applied to this particular site. Again, I feel that 50-foot setback is more applicable to a high-density development. So again, kind of through those discussions with the neighborhood, based on 3 criteria that we meet, which we have signed an LOI with the HOA, that we would install an 8-foot fence around the perimeter that you see on your screen that just kind of shields those adjacent neighbors. We've also, I'll jump to that real quick. We agreed to turn off pool lights, from 9 p.m. from Sunday through Friday, 10 p.m. On Saturdays. The lighting is not allowed to cross property lines, which is per code anyways. And then music volume will be monitored. And so that's something that we've agreed to do. We'll put those items in our CIS documents with the HOA and provide those to our adjacent HOA property owners when the time is applicable. And Mr. Ray, who's here to speak as well, met with him twice, and Ray was involved in all these discussions, and this was just a quick email that I believe you all received in your backup with the contact team also offering their support for this pool. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
All right, we'll get back to you with questions here in a bit. Mr. Collins, come on up. Sorry about that. I'll speak louder and clearer. You'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Ray Collins. I chair the South Manchaca Neighborhood Plan Contact Team. You will have seen from your backup that the contact team voted in favor of granting this variance. This evening, I'm here to present an ongoing contact team discussion and how it might apply to this property and the Planning Commission's work later this year. At our July 31st meeting, an ongoing contact team discussion focused on this particular property. The ongoing discussion is about early application of the Atlas 14 code changes. The contact team is in alignment with DSD's David Marquez public statements a short while back. He stated that developers are being encouraged to apply the Atlas 14 guidelines in advance of their codification. I'm aware of some complications, such as properties out of the floodplain, which exist in an area where most properties are in the floodplain, and a possible new complication arose from the discussion of the property at 5107 Manchaca and Mr. Corbell's response. The trees on this property are of great importance to both the neighborhood and the applicant. Mr. Corbell's response to possible early application of Atlas 14 was that it would unfavorably impact retaining trees. The contact team also considered the fact that the change in the impervious coverage on this property is from 29 to 36%. Out of these considerations, the contact team will continue to ask that early application of the Atlas 14 changes be considered for this property and others. For this specific property, the contact team's ask is that any Atlas 14 changes applied be modified as necessary for preservation of the tree cover. Finally, please take into account this specific situation, which was new to us at 5107 Manchaca, when the Planning Commission does its work on codifying Atlas 14 starting later this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Those are all the speakers, I believe. Is there a motion to close public hearing? Motion by Commissioner Shaw, Second by Commissioner Azar. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. Questions? Commissioner Shaw?
So I'm the one that pulled this because I just wanted to make sure there was some basis for this pool, this compatibility exemption. And it sounds like there has been quite a bit of work with the neighborhood, which we knew. You also spoke to the hours and a fence, which I had questions about that. But could you just speak to, because a lot of these developments typically put a pool kind of in the middle, and I'm looking at your site plan. What would be the issues with siting if did you look at putting the pool in the middle and putting another unit more where this pool is?
We did.
And go ahead and introduce yourself one more time.
Yes, Jared Corbell with Storybuilt. We did. We looked at, we have our in-house architecture team, and we go through multiple iterations to try to figure out what is the best fit for a particular site. If you see how the road has to access right in the middle, and it kind of creates a fort, there's a little kind of group of trees right there that we felt kind of created a unique kind of entry sequence for the project. And when we try to look at ways to not only kind of honor additional compatibility around the perimeter, it really seemed that trying to bring the homes kind of closer to and having the pool kind of more in the rear. We're not going to be gating this community. Some people, we don't want to confuse the idea of seeing a pool right off of Manchaca when walking and feel that it's kind of open. Not that anybody just goes strolling into swimming pools, but just we felt that it created a little bit more privacy and, again, a better entry sequence for the future homeowners.
Other questions? Commissioner Kenny?
This question for staff. Is this a restriction unique to higher density single-family dwellings? Because, there's a lot of single-family pools in town that are pretty close to the fence. I've swam in several of them.
Sure. What's triggering this is the zoning boundary. So this site is zoned SF6, and the neighboring properties are SF3, and so it's the zone versus zone compatibility that triggers that. So that's what triggers Article 10, and then within Article 10, one of the standards is, okay, along with the setbacks from property lines for buildings and other improvements, there's this 50-foot for intensive use.
So just to clarify, a single-family home can have their swimming pool right against the tree.
Absolutely.
On a big lot, but if you're a single-family home that's part of a condo regime on a more intensive lot with more efficient land use, you do have this.
Yes, that's exactly correct.
Okay,
And,
is
in
this the
fact,
same?
there's a great example on
Is this the
site.
same intensive recreational use that prohibits multi-use trails from being close to single-family homes
Yes.
and playgrounds?
Yes.
Okay, I hope we take a look at this in LDC because it's one of the dumbest things I've heard. Thank you.
Okay. Other questions? All right. Is there a motion? Motion by, go ahead, Commissioner Seeger.
I motion to close the public hearing and accept staff's recommendation.
I think we might have already closed public hearing.
Oh, we've already
Yeah.
closed it, sorry. Take staff's recommendation.
Okay. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Shaw. Any questions for the motion maker? Did you want to speak to your motion?
No, I agree that I am on. I agree that with PSWs, or I'm sorry, your new name, okay, and staff's recommendation that this would be an appropriate place. I think Commissioner Kenny brought out the fallacies of our current code when you're looking at detached single family and putting in a pool. So that's why I support it.
Okay. Any commissioners speaking against? Any, okay. Speaking for? All right. Commissioner Hempel, go ahead.
I think this is a really great use of a very tight space, and I really hope that we're looking at these setbacks 50 feet for a pool, which I wouldn't classify as intensive, but 50 feet for a lot of those uses that we just talked about is ridiculous.
Any others speaking for or against or neutral? Commissioner Shaw?
Yeah, just going to speak for and say we will have the opportunity to change these kind of things when the draft code comes out.
Okay. All right, so that's everyone. Let's take a vote. Motion by Commissioner Seeger, second by Commissioner Shaw. In favor of staff recommendations, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? All right, that motion carries unanimously, 12-0. All right. Thank you, staff, for sticking around. We're going to go over to, let's go over to